Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Friday. We made it to the end of the week, and it is a beautiful day in the capital city. Your reward, 2.5 hours of 580 Sports Talk, give or take, here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our video streaming channels, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, WIBW News on Facebook. However, wherever, whenever you're tuning in today, thanks so much for being a part of 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. Brendan Dworzinski will be by in a bit. Spencer Dupuis is off today. 2.5 hours-ish of Sports Talk today to send you into the weekend before we give way to the 580 Preps Game of the Week doubleheader, our final doubleheader of the regular season. It takes us to Viking Gymnasium up north, Seaman and Shawnee Heights, a classic city rivalry, one of my absolute favorite rivalry matchups in the city. Seaman and Shawnee Heights wrapping up the regular season tonight in the United Kansas Conference. Seaman's got a chance to win a league title on the boys' side. They need a win and a Topeka West loss. Shawnee Heights girls have already clinched the outright UKC title for the year. Going to be some great basketball, and I hope you'll join myself and the coach, Larry Latimer, from Seaman High School for that broadcast. We intend to go on the air around 5:30, give or take. That's why I say 2.5 hours of sports talk today. Might be earlier, might be later, but our approximate broadcast start time is 5:30. We hope you will join us for some hoops tonight. Then, of course, the Kansas High School Basketball Scoreboard Show coming your way 10 p.m. tonight with the great Darryn Peterson on the desk here on the flagship station of the Kansas Information Network, 580 WIBW. So, in the meantime, in between time, we've got this sports talk time to spend together and lots to discuss in a short amount of time today. Scouting combine in full swing, and this is the part where you either buy in completely on a prospect or start to have some second thoughts on a prospect due to the measurables. And the measurables could cause enough overthinking so that a potentially generational talent falls to the Chiefs at number 9. We're going to talk about the idea of Reuben Bain still being on the board at number 9 and the Chiefs with real holes on offense to address and real options to address them likely to be on the board at number 9. Well, what if Jeremiah Love's up there and Carnell Tate is up there and Reuben Bain is up there on the board? What direction should the Chiefs go? And can you overthink the measurables just a little bit? We'll talk about that. We'll also get into, in the 4 o'clock hour, our third installment of Free Agent Friday. We're taking a look at the free agent pool at positions of need for the Chiefs. And today we come to the running back position. Really intriguing at the top, really iffy outside of that. But the Chiefs have to add, like, not a negotiable. They have to add a running back in free agency. What does that look like? What could that look like? Could the Chiefs potentially build a running back room in free agency? We'll discuss that when we come around to Free Agent Friday. And, of course, because it's Friday on the program, that means we got our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick, to join us. He will join us at the bottom of this 3 o'clock hour. Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com will tap in with us. Haven't forgotten about baseball. We're going to get to some Royals. It is 29 days to opening day. You know how I mentioned that yesterday, number 30 is kind of, it's not retired, but it's out of circulation. Well, we're at number 29 today, and that's another one. Not retired, but I'd be really surprised if you see that number again in any of our lifetimes on somebody's back for the Kansas City Royals. We'll get into the reason why. If you don't know the story, some of you probably do. Probably remember the 29s fondly. But maybe some of you are of a generation where you don't. So we'll tell the story and get a look in at what's going on in the Cactus League today. Royals were down 2-1 at last check. They are playing the A's today. Bailey Falter gave up 2 first-inning runs, rebounded after that, finished his outing strongly, but tough go for Falter as he continues to bid to make the roster. We'll get more into some Royals baseball a little bit later on. Also, some college hoops on the program. Huge one at the McHale Center in Tucson on Saturday afternoon. KU and Arizona. Jayhawks needed to keep their Big 12 title hopes alive, looking for a season series sweep. It is not going to come easily, but KU beat those guys without Darryn Peterson. Expectation is that Peterson will play on Saturday. Of course, because it's Darryn Peterson we're talking about. We don't know that for sure. We don't know how much Darryn Peterson is going to play. But how does he change the equation for Kansas in the matchup against Arizona? We'll get into that later on today. Plus, your typical Friday shenanigans on the program. We'll have our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Would have changed my mind on second thought. Also, crown a February champion on What Is Wrong With You. We are down to our final two stories on What Is Wrong With You today. We've got the teacher doing blow in the bathroom, and we've got the gentleman who mooned some teenagers he thought were disrespecting him at a McDonald's. Two really good stories, but only one can be our February What Is Wrong With You champion. That's all coming on the show today, plus your interaction with the program. You are, as always, invited and encouraged to be a part of the show today. You can do that via our text line, which is always open. 785-272-9429 is the number. That is 785-272-9429. You can also interact with us if you are watching our YouTube stream live. We are live on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Hop in the live chat. There is a chat feature that goes along with our YouTube stream, and you can say hello, interact with your fellow listeners and your hosts as we go along. See Vance, Mark H., Ryan, John's in the chat. Good to see you. Look forward to hearing from more of you as we go along throughout the program today. Again, hop in that live chat. If you've never done it before, come on in. The water's fine. Everybody's friendly, and it's a great way to grow the 580 Sports Talk community. If you've never watched the show on YouTube, usually this is where I say during the winter months, yeah, you're not outside. It's not that nice. You're cooped up. You're inside. You're running out the clock at work. Go to youtube.com and find us and subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. But it's a really nice day today. So, maybe go outside and watch us on your phone instead. Watch it on the app, your YouTube app. You can find us just as easily there. NFL Scouting Combine ongoing. The Underwear Olympics. Had a lot of defensive players test yesterday. You had your linebackers. You had your defensive linemen. You had other players testing today. I'm not 100% familiar with the exact schedule of who goes what day. I confess it's not the most interesting sporting happening on the calendar to me. The things that jump out are the things that jump out. What jumped out yesterday, apparently Sonny Styles is the biggest freak athlete that there's ever been. Sonny Styles, linebacker from Ohio State, came into the combine as a possible first-round pick, maybe even a probable first-round pick, and now there are people talking about the Jets taking him at number 2 overall. Like, that's how well he tested yesterday. You can make yourself a lot of money at the Underwear Olympics. If you go out and you run real fast and you jump real high and you show off your agility in the 3-cone drill and you bench a lot of weight a lot of times, you can make yourself a lot of money. Chiefs fans, of course, fondly remember Dontari Poe, top 10 pick out of Memphis. He was a good player, had a good career, but that was not somebody anybody was talking about really coming out of Memphis until he blew up the combine, and then all of a sudden he was a top 10 pick. And he did himself his own favors with his performance at the combine. Sometimes the superstar of the combine doesn't really work out. I think it's amazing all these years later, the best example of that, the guy who was the combine monster who shot up the draft boards, got drafted really, really high, and then didn't really pan out. The example is still somehow Mike Mamula. He got drafted by the Eagles in the maybe late 90s. And Mike Mamula was a good player. Honestly, it was injuries more than underperformance that really kind of undercut his career. But he was a guy who went from sort of a draft afterthought to, oh, this guy's going to go in the top 10, top 15 because of what he did at the combine. That's still the name that I think of most immediately when I think of guys at the combine who were unbelievable and then got drafted super high as a result and then didn't really work out. Didn't have that kind of a career as a pro. But not only are you testing your athleticism, you're quite literally being measured up. What's your height? How much do you weigh? How long are your arms? How big are your hands? All of these things. We talk about different things for different positions. We talk about hand size for quarterbacks. We talk about arm length for offensive and defensive linemen. And the reason we do this, it's fairly intuitive, but the longer your reach, the better you're able to ward off an oncoming pass rusher. You can force them wide. You punch your punch, if you will. You can get more extension on that so you can be more effective with the use of your arms. And for a defensive lineman, it's the same kind of deal. Your punch, your how you fire off the ball, how you can get into and move or displace or knock off balance an offensive lineman. It's important most of the time to have long arms as a pass rusher. Reuben Bain, who is a consensus, as of right now, top 10, maybe even top 5 pick in the upcoming NFL draft, had his arms measured yesterday. And they measured in at less than 31 inches. Now, he wasn't alone. Texas A&M edge rusher Cassius Howell also had arms that measured at less than 31 inches. Arrowhead Pride did the digging on this. There are only 3 other edge rushers in the mock draftable database. And the mock draftable database goes back quite a ways. Goes back into at least the mid-2000s, maybe even further. No, it goes all the way back to 1999, actually. And you can search on their website and find the measurables and the combine performance for everybody who worked out at the combine from 1999 on. And so in that time frame, from 1999 to now, there have only been 3 other edge rushers who had arms measure at less than 31 inches. Nate Williams out of Ohio State, Sutton Smith out of Northern Illinois, Tyree Johnson out of Texas A&M. And those 3 gentlemen in their NFL careers combined to play 8 games, all of them, by the way, belonging to one guy, Sutton Smith, 1 tackle, 0 sacks. So that's the history that Bain and Howell are pushing against by being edge rushers with T-Rex arms. And again, this is the time of year, and these are the kinds of things that teams analyze and maybe overanalyze. And there's a very real chance that the arm length hurts Reuben Bain's draft stock. It's not a secret. Everybody kind of knew coming into the combine that he wasn't going to measure like with condor arms. He wasn't going to come out there looking like an albatross. But less than 31 inches, again, the track record for arms that short, it's, well, short. The track record is short and not super inspiring. The flip side of the Reuben Bain argument, though, is watch the tape. Just watch the tape. Watch him almost win the national championship game against Indiana by himself. Watch him absolutely wreck shop against Ohio State. Those teams have good offensive linemen. Those teams have NFL caliber offensive linemen. I think so. Reuben Bain held up pretty well against them. It is the ultimate watch the tape versus I'm a little worried about the T-Rex arms thing sort of debate. But there will be teams who move Reuben Bain down their draft board because his arms are short. It will happen. So let's imagine that it does. Let's imagine that enough teams are concerned that let themselves be scared off of a guy who, when you, again, watch the film, looks like a generational talent at edge and say, yeah, I don't know. Rather go with David Bailey. Maybe I'd rather go. Who's the kid from Auburn? There's a kid from Auburn who's going to be potentially highly drafted as an edge rusher. Maybe he's the guy you like better. Keldrick Falk, who's starting to show up in a lot of mock drafts. Maybe you talk yourself into Arvell Reese as an edge rusher. A lot of people think he could be the actual best player in the draft out of Ohio State. Played a little off the ball linebacker, also rushed the passer some. Reese says he's an edge rusher. He's a little undersized for an edge rusher, 6'4", 243. But maybe you talk yourself into him if you need an edge rusher. Maybe 3 edges go in the top 8 that aren't Reuben Bain. And he's there at number 9. A lot of the mock drafts that we've examined, we've done a couple of rounds of mock draft Wednesday to this point, and even if we haven't gotten to them on mock draft Wednesday, if you've done your own share of perusing mock drafts across all Al Gore's internet and NFL.com and ESPN and all those places, the common idea is that the Chiefs will seek out an impactful skill player because they are short on impactful skill players on their roster. We have already talked about Jeremiah Love ad nauseum, and we'll talk about him more between now and the end of April. Carnell Tate is appealing as a big wide receiver, a potential big number 1 outside receiver, the likes of which Patrick Mahomes has not had the luxury of. Mekhi Lemon maybe fits the Chiefs mold size-wise a little better, but he's a potential top 10 talent. Jordan Tyson is probably a top 10 talent. Teams may be scared off by his injury history. There is the potential for the Chiefs to take a skill player who could immediately be their best playmaker on offense in 2026. And I think that's appealing. And I think it makes a lot of sense to invest in offense because the quarterback of the team is Patrick Mahomes. You're pot committed on offense as long as that guy is your quarterback. You may as well add to that strength. And frankly, the offense is only a strength at this point because of Mahomes. That's probably selling the offensive line a little bit short. But when it comes to skill talent on the roster, it has been Mahomes and an aging Travis Kelce and a declining running back room and a declining wide receiver room over the last 2-3 years. And a chance to inject some young legs and some splash play ability to either the running back or wide receiver room may in the end be too tempting for the Chiefs to pass up. But if you watch the Reuben Bain tape, have you seen that dude play? Have you seen that dude come after quarterbacks? Did you watch him almost wreck the national championship game on his own? Did you see the speed at which he plays, his ability to get around the bend and get to quarterbacks? He was built for it, except for the arm length, apparently. Can you really pass up a talent like that at another position of need? Because as much as the Chiefs' offense is devoid of splash plays, the defense for the Chiefs didn't make a lot of splash plays and hasn't made a lot of them in the last 2 seasons. What are splash plays for a defense? Negative plays and turnovers. Chiefs did not have enough sacks the last couple of years. Chiefs did not force enough turnovers the last couple of years. What if there's a splash play generator on defense sitting there at number 9? And look, that's one of those good problems, right? You want to have as many good options as possible, make the pick harder to screw up. But as tantalizing as the thought of Jeremiah Love lining up in the backfield or Cornell Tate lining up on the outside may be, I think if 8 teams are going to be short-sighted enough to say, well, we like Bain, Tape's good, but I don't know about those short arms, where everybody who watched college football is screaming into the ether, you know who else had short arms? Mike Tyson. Seriously, that is the comparison I keep seeing out there, is like Mike Tyson did not have long arms for a heavyweight. Why did he kick everybody's tail when he was the best heavyweight alive? Not because his arms were super long, because he was violent and fast. And did I say violent? That's Reuben Bain. If 8 teams are going to look at that player and watch that film and say, I don't know, that might be too good for the 9th team picking in the draft to pass up. Some thoughts from the live chat on our YouTube stream. Paul in the YouTube comments. Good to see you, Paul. Bain has short arms. David Bailey's footwork was bad during his lateral drills. If I were the first 8 teams, I would pass on both of those guys for sure and let the team picking 9th deal with it. Yeah, that's just it, right? Like, watch tape on these guys. Andrew has a fair critique that Bain was not impactful for a spell in the middle of his previous season at Miami. Said he had 4 tackles over a 6-week span against lesser competition. This is where I'm going to say, Andrew, there is a bit of, I think you see this in college sometimes. I think you saw this a little with Jadeveon Clowney, his last year at South Carolina, where he didn't put up Mondo numbers against everybody, but against the best teams in the big games, in the big spotlights, he was there. And Jadeveon Clowney maybe didn't have the career everybody thought he was going to have, but he was a really good player for a long time, helpful player for a long time. I think there's an element of, and I think every really talented draft prospect has to fight through this a little bit. There's a bit of gifted kid syndrome where if the game's too easy, if the game doesn't challenge you, then you don't, maybe you kind of coast. You kind of put it in cruise control. Like, oh, this isn't that much of a challenge for me, so I'm not gonna put my best foot forward. But when I'm challenged, when there's a difficult thing in front of me, when there's an obstacle, when there's something to go be won, and that is a fair critique to say, well, why don't you show up every time? But I do think there is some of that with certain prospects. I think this happens across all sports, where if you are so preternaturally gifted and you're presented with something that is not altogether challenging, sometimes you sort of coast through it. You don't take it as seriously as you ought to. Things change a little bit when you get to the NFL, and every week is a challenge. That would be what I would be betting on with Reuben Bain. Because when it was time to stand up and be counted for that man, he ran through everybody. And I'll trust the film against the good teams more so than I'd worry against about the film or the lack of production against the bad teams. But, hey, maybe that's another reason he falls to number 9, at which point I'm sprinting to the table with that name on the card if I'm the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll take our first time out. Want to hear from you, 785-272-9429, and in the YouTube live chat. Good discussion in there so far. Appreciate you guys. We got a countdown to Royals opening day. Got Matt Derrick going to join us here in just a little bit. Got some college hoops to get to. Free Agent Friday. What is wrong with you? Championship. It's Jam-Pack Friday. We're glad you're here. 580 Sports Talk. 3:33 on 580 Sports Talk. Our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick, going to join us in about 5 minutes here. Checking in with the Royals in surprise. Good day to be a hitter. 5-5. Royals and A's tied in the bottom of the fourth. Bobby Witt Jr. has his first home run of the spring, a 3-run shot off of A's starter Jeffrey Springs. Royals starter Bailey Falter gave up 2 runs on 3 hits and a walk in an inning and 2/3, did strike out 3. Nick Mears gave up a run on a hit in his inning of relief. Carlos Estevez has now given up 3 home runs in 2 innings. He gave up a dinger to star A's shortstop Jacob Wilson in his inning of work. Allowed 2 hits, 2 runs, both coming on the home run. So rocky start to the spring for Estevez, but remember, he started kind of slow last year, too. It takes him a while, this is verified, to get his velocity up. It's not there yet. He clearly needs it. It's 29 days until opening day for the Royals, 29 days until March 27th when the Royals open against the Braves. We talked yesterday about number 30 for the Royals kind of being informally retired for now, taken out of circulation. Nobody has worn it since the death of Yordano Ventura, except for Danny Duffy, who expressly wanted to wear it as a tribute to Yordano and did so in his final season with the Royals. Well, number 29 hasn't been worn since 2007. That's when Mike Sweeney left the Kansas City Royals. And as great a player as Mike Sweeney was as a Royal and as memorable a career as he had with the team, I think 29's out of circulation because of Dan Quisenberry, the beloved relief ace of those Royals teams of the early to mid 80s, who at one point had the major league record for saves in a single season. The side armor, the Australian, they called him because his delivery, came from down under. By all accounts, an even better human being than a ball player, a brilliant mind, a poet, a published poet, died way too young of brain cancer back in 1998. Now, Sweeney was already wearing the number 29 at the time. It had gotten handed out a little bit after Quisenberry left the Royals, a bit acrimoniously, actually, after the 85 season. But I got to believe they're keeping 29 out of circulation. And that's one, even though Quiz sadly isn't around to see it, I think the Royals ought to retire it. Even if it is just like this, even if it is one of those that's informally retired, I don't think number 29 would look right on the back of another Royal moving forward. Or maybe it's the kind of thing you give to, like, the ultimate good guy, because Mike Sweeney was that, and Dan Quisenberry certainly was as well. We'll take a break. Matt Derrick, our Chiefs insider, coming up next. We go to Kansas City on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline and are joined by our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick, who covers the Kansas City Chiefs for ChiefsDigest.com. Matt, how are you enjoying the Underwear Olympics this week in Indianapolis?
I wish I'd been able to make the trip. I unfortunately did not due to a family issue and illness, but everything's fine. But you know what? There's things I like about it, but the workouts, nah, just give me the numbers, give me the measurements. That's all I need. I don't need to watch it. It cracks me up. I mean, they don't let that many people in there anyway, but just watching people work out in the empty Lucas Oil Stadium just absolutely cracks me up.
Yeah, didn't they used to try to charge admission? I know they used to put it on primetime on network television and then realize, all right, maybe we're a little high on our own supply here. People aren't that into watching this.
Yeah, in the last few years and everything, they have had like fans that watch the bench press and those kind of things, and that just seems weird. But yeah, they kind of figured out that it didn't really make a whole lot of sense. And you're right, they definitely got high on their own supply, and I think nobody really enjoyed having the fans in there, so they kind of got them out.
Reuben Bain has tiny arms. How much does that bother you?
It bothers me none at all whatsoever. I mean, there are positions and there are places, and even for defensive ends, I mean, it's a nice thing to have. I had somebody point out to me this week, Frank Clark probably had his entire career based on the fact that he had extremely long arms. But if you got all the other skills, I mean, if you're able to get around people, you got strength, you got footwork, you got technique, you got all those things going for you. It's a little bit like Joe Tooney. I mean, it doesn't matter. You can play. So doesn't bother me at all. And, and for defensive ends, I don't think it's as big of a deal as it is for like an offensive tackle. Yeah, it's a nice feature to have, but if you got the rest of your game, and that's the only thing that you're deficient in, I can live with that.
Matt Derrick is our Chiefs insider here on 580 Sports Talk, covers the Chiefs for ChiefsDigest.com, joining us here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. Most of the mock drafts, at least to date, and obviously there'll be a whole slew of new ones coming out of the combine with a lot of changes and different ideas about players and all that good stuff. Guys get their reputations either inflated or deflated by the combine all the time. But to this point, the majority, I would say the pretty vast majority of mock drafts we've seen for the Chiefs have them going offense in round one, whether it's Jeremiah Love, whether it's Carnell Tate, whether it's Mekhi Lemon, a lot of offense picks for the Chiefs at number 9. Do you sense that's where the Chiefs are leaning, that they are probably looking offense with that 9th pick and a chance to jumpstart a group of skill position players that has lost a little juice in recent years?
I mean, I really think at this point, I'm not sure that they really have gotten down to zeroing in that much. I mean, obviously at this point, you're still building your draft board. You're putting it all together, and obviously they've been watching these guys for years. So the combine, the interviews process, all of this, it's there to either reinforce what you already know about these players and make you more confident that this is somebody that you would take at a particular point in the draft, or it makes you question whether or not you want to take a particular person in the draft. I mean, that's what this time of the year is for these teams. But I don't know what this team's going to look like in 3 weeks from now, because free agency will change that, and the Chiefs know that. I mean, that's why I don't think that they really get too much into whether it's going to be offense or defense or the player really until after free agency gets underway, and really, I mean, maybe until the beginning of April. And for me, I'm kind of the same way. I mean, mock drafts are fun and all those things, but it's going to completely change what the needs of this team are after the first couple of waves of free agency.
We're going to get into the free agent class of running backs a little bit later on this show. The Chiefs can't go into the draft with Jeremiah Love or bust and no other solutions at running back. So they're probably going to add to that running back room. And I'm sure you've heard from fans, just as we have here on this show, that would like to see the Chiefs go after one of the big ticket running back free agents. There are 3 of them on the board right now, though it doesn't sound like Breece Hall's going to make it to free agency. So if you set him aside, it's Kenneth Walker, the reigning Super Bowl MVP from Seattle. It's Travis Etienne from Jacksonville. Those are the 2 guys that are very clear top of the depth chart running backs. Of those two, Matt, which do you think would be a better fit in Kansas City?
I would probably give the edge to Etienne. I think he is probably a little bit more of the complete back. There's some, been some issues over the years in Seattle that, Walker, and maybe it can be inconsistent and up down a little bit. Etienne, I think, is also the better pass catcher out of the backfield. I think he would kind of fit what Andy Reid likes to do with his running backs. I don't think it would preclude either one of them. I don't think it would preclude if on the Chiefs, wanting another back, whether it's another one in free agency or drafting a back. I think it would if you get one of those guys. Obviously, take out Love at 9 as a serious consideration. And you're right. I mean, that's the one thing I think that kind of gets lost in this discussion about running backs is that if you're the Chiefs, you have to get more explosive at running back. And your plan can't be, okay, go get Jeremiah Love, because, that might require you jumping up to 4 for crying out loud. And you don't really have the resources to do that either. So, hey, Brett Veach has always believed and said, what is free agency there for? It's to fill the holes that you've missed out on with drafting and building your team, and you just need short-term fixes. And that's what the Chiefs need. I mean, they basically needed a running back placeholder for a couple of years, 2-3 years, but it can't be just anybody. It's got to be one of a handful of guys. And I'm not going to cross off Breece Hall quite yet if he gets the transition tag, but I think the other two guys are more likely to be the targets, and I think Etienne it would be the more likely one.
Do you think that the Chiefs feel like they need to get a top of the depth chart running back, or that they might be able to build a running back room in the aggregate around some guys? I mean, you look at the list of free agents, there are guys that have, some ability we know as change of pace backs like Tyler Algier, Brian Robinson. There are good, or J.K. Dobbins is another example. There are guys who are good pass catchers like Kenneth Gainwell. There are short yardage experts like Kareem Hunt, which the Chiefs know very well. Do you think that might be a more realistic approach that the Chiefs take towards reconstructing that room? Or do you think they are of the mind of, we got to go get a horse who can make some plays?
I gotta think that they're comfortable and open to either philosophy, but I think that they also acknowledge and understand that there's just not that many of those guys out there. There might be 3, maybe 4, depending on your definition. I mean, even a lot of lists of maybe the best running backs in the league would include Jahmyr Gibbs, but even the Lions have Montgomery that's been there with him and everything. They have a 2-back operation. Your Seahawks, Kenneth Walker's been great and is going to probably get paid, but they were a 2-back operation most of this season until Charbonnet got hurt. I mean, to me, I keep, this using the Moneyball example. If you're the Chiefs, you need to get to like 1,500 yards rushing. You'd prefer 1,800 from your top 2 running backs. That'll make you a playoff team and more likely a Super Bowl contender if you get that. It doesn't matter if it's 1 or 2 guys. It's just that you need to get there. And there's just not a lot of guys that are going to get you 1,500 yards. Like maybe name Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley, and might be just about it. I mean, those guys you can count on. Anybody else, it's going to be a running back by committee. And that seems like most of the NFL, even if you've got a 1,000-yard back or 1,200-yard back, you got somebody else you can count on too.
Couple more questions for our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. Matt covers the Chiefs for ChiefsDigest.com. Brett Veach said earlier this week in Indianapolis, the plan is to open up contract extension talks with Trent McDuffie. Said that was the first thing on his list. So for all we know, those talks have been maybe ongoing throughout the week. You think there's a deadline on that for the Chiefs where they need an answer or a resolution on that? Maybe it's before the draft, or maybe it's before training camp. Maybe it's before the start of the new league year. Do you sense there's a lot of urgency there to get that done? What is that level of urgency from the Chiefs?
Yeah, I think the urgency is a little bit dictated by what they think they can get done. If they think that, Trent McDuffie is going to be a member of this team this year regardless, and that trading him is not a possibility, then I don't think it really matters. I mean, you could take that way all the way up to the beginning of the season, and maybe even let him play out this year. I don't know that McDuffie is the kind of guy that would hold out, but maybe you let him play out the 5th-year option. If you think there's a chance that you're going to trade Trent McDuffie, I think it's got to be sooner the better. And part of that is because it's better, I think, usually to be the first team out there, make a move, and sometimes you can get, I think, the better deal that way. But the other part of it too is that Jalen Watson's a free agent. If you're trading Trent McDuffie and he's not going to be a part of your team in 26, now all of a sudden, signing Jalen Watson becomes critical. And maybe you're able to keep Jalen Watson, and maybe you're able to keep Trent McDuffie. Maybe you keep both those guys. Price wise, it could be an either or. But that's one thing for sure is that if you don't think that Trent McDuffie is going to be on your team in 26, you need to keep Jalen Watson, and you need to do that sooner than later. So I would almost feel like that you need to know for sure what you're going to do with McDuffie before the beginning of free agency starts, so you know what to do with Jalen Watson.
Are there any of the other pending free agents that the Chiefs have that you sense that they might be trying to get something done with and keep in the fold before the start of the new league year? Or do you think that they're happy to let those guys, the Leo Chanels, Jalen Watsons, Brian Cooks, test the waters a little bit?
Yeah, those are the big three. And Chanel probably fits into the category of test the waters because it's possible that shoulder injury and the surgery that he had late in the season will impact his value. I still think that the expectation, I think the Chiefs and probably Chanel's representation of their expectation is that there's going to be an offer out there that he can't refuse because he wants to get paid, but he also wants to be a 3-down linebacker. And that, to this point, has not happened in Kansas City. So I think he's going to have to go somewhere where he's got a better fit. And that, I think I know the Chiefs would love to have him back, but I think he's going to have to go out there and see if, what's on the market. And if he doesn't find it, the Chiefs would love to get him back at a bargain deal. But I think he is going to find a contract out there that's to his liking. Watson, like I said, I think it's either kind of an either or with Watson and McDuffie. I'm not sure that both of them are going to be back. But the Chiefs would definitely love to have Brian Cook. I mean, that's their leader in the secondary level on the back end. He's not the free safety that they need, and they've got a lot of strong safeties and box safeties. But, I go back to that last week 18 game, Dan. If you go back and watch that, you'll see that the Chiefs had all their young defensive guys out there with Nick Bolton and Brian Cook. And that was a pretty good indication about what the Chiefs were thinking and how they felt that, hey, these are the two guys who are our leaders that they want to build around, and they want those young guys playing with.
Matt Derrick covers the Kansas City Chiefs for ChiefsDigest.com, and he is our Chiefs insider here on 580 Sports Talk, joining us every Friday at the bottom of the 3 o'clock hour. Matt, it's always a pleasure. Enjoy your weekend. We'll do it again next Friday.
Sounds great, Dan. Take care, my friend.
That is Matt Derrick. We'll take a break, come back with On Second Thought to wrap up this 3 o'clock hour on Friday on 580 Sports Talk. On second thought, yeah, I think I've done the 180, the full 180 on the trade Trent McDuffie idea. I liked the sound of it coming out of 2025. Don't think he played at a particularly high level in 2025. He's had better seasons. He had an all-pro season. And thought maybe if he was going to ask for Sauce Gardner money, the better thing to do would be try to get a first-round pick or an early day 2 pick in the draft for him, bulk up draft capital. But then you really put yourself in the bind if you're the Chiefs of who else is going to play cornerback. And McDuffie's a good one, and McDuffie's a leader, and we know that McDuffie has an elite portion of his skill set in the slot. That he can play the outside if that's where the Chiefs need him, but in the slot, we know his ceiling is all pro level. And starting a lot of those guys in the league. And if you've got one and you can get something done with that player and not let them hit the open market, then I think maybe the Chiefs ought to more strongly consider that so that they don't go into next season feeling like they've got to start Kevin Knowles at cornerback. I don't think that's what they want. Coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, Free Agent Friday takes a look at the running backs. We'll talk some college hoops, crown of What Is Wrong With You champ on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk on this Friday afternoon. It is a beautiful day in the capital city. We're glad you're spending some of it with us here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. We're with you until about 5:30 this evening before we break away for our last 580 Preps Game of the Week doubleheader of the regular season. We finish things out with a bang tonight. Classic rivalry matchup. Seaman and Shawnee Heights finishing up the regular season against each other tonight. Myself and the coach, Larry Latimer, will have the call. Pre-game coverage, again, approximately 5:30 right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Then at 10 o'clock tonight, it's Kansas High School Basketball Scoreboard Show with Eric Peterson here on the flagship station, the Kansas Information Network, 580 WIBW. I am Dan Lucero. Brendan Dworzinski is in the box with me as well. What's up, man?
2 minutes for hooking, personally.
For you feel shame. 2 minutes,
Slashing.
2 minutes, and you feel shame, and then you get free.
How many hockey penalties can I name? Hooking, slashing, tripping, all the ings.
Have you not seen Slapshot?
I have once. I've seen it literally one time in my life.
I have it on DVD. That's classic.
That is a classic. Game misconduct, spitting on an opponent, being mean. I'm running out of penalties.
Misconduct.
Here.
You're looking for misconduct.
Misconduct. Yeah, I knew that one. Uniform violation. Do we have a uniform violation?
Boarding, high sticking.
High sticking. I should have known that one.
Too many men.
Tell me about it. Am I right, ladies?
And delay a game, interference.
Delay a game in hockey. Are you flipping the puck over the boards intentionally?
Shoot the puck over the boards. Never on purpose.
Wow, my bad for wanting to give the fans a souvenir. Wow. All right, Gary Bettman.
Oh,
jeez.
That's why they put the nets up. They don't want you doing that.
Clearly, they hate their fans, obviously.
And you can bank it off the boards, and if it caroms out, they don't give you a penalty. If you shoot it into the bench, it's not a penalty because you just lower boards. But you just flip it up over the boards, yeah, they're going to throw you in the box for that. 2 minutes, and then you feel shame. And then you get free.
I don't know. I feel like I'd be rested, and then I'd come out like the prodigal son to help my team save the penalty kill.
Here's the question I really want to ask you. We were talking at the top of the 3 o'clock hour. We're talking about Reuben Bain.
I was going to guess this wasn't about hockey.
No, it was not. We're talking about Reuben Bain and his tiny arms. And I could not care less about Reuben Bain's tiny arms because I watched the tape. And he's a game wrecker. And he didn't wreck every game he played this past season. He had a stretch of games where he wasn't super productive.
Mm-hmm.
But so did Jadeveon Clowney in college. And that didn't, drop him on any draft boards or mean he was any less of a prospect. But he came up in the live chat, and I mentioned his high school highlight tape. You ever seen Jadeveon Clowney's high school recruiting tape?
Oh, buddy, I spent several years of my life as a primarily South Carolina Gamecocks football fan. I have seen it many, many times.
So here's the question I want to ask you. And I feel like we could do a whole segment of these. But what's the best high school recruiting tape you've ever seen? Your favorite, for whatever reason.
Clowney's, okay, there's three. There is a golden three here that I would go with. Number one, Clowney's is amazing because he ended up playing defense, but the offensive tape is even more incredible.
Yeah.
Like, literally looks like Derrick Henry running dudes over.
Yeah, man versus boys.
Like, defensively, even at big schools, and South Carolina's a big football state, but you occasionally run into a tackle who is just tall and not exactly big. And those kids were just getting eaten for dinner. It was incredible stuff. Clowney's is up there. Speaking of Derrick Henry, his is unbelievable. The GOAT, though, truly the greatest of all time. You very likely do not even know this name because, boy, you want to talk about fizzling out when he got to the big stage. Noel Devine.
Thank you for saying Noel Devine.
The greatest mixtape of a high school football player ever, bar none.
West Virginia.
Yes.
And yeah, did not have the kind of college career that the tape would have suggested.
No, dude, it was like the And One mixtape tour of football.
No,
it was unbelievable.
Like he was playing on double speed relative to the rest of his competition. I will see those three because those are all great. and I will raise you 3 others. Number 1, former Kansas State Wildcat Dalton Reisner, because he played small school football in Colorado, and he was out there returning kicks. And punts.
Yeah.
And he built the way he was. Also, Reggie Bush's tape.
Oh, yeah. Good one.
At Helix there in San Diego. But the one for me where I was so all in on the hype of this guy when he was coming out of high school because he jumped over people in the tape, Sam McDuffie. Do you remember him?
I don't remember the tape, but I remember the name. Yeah.
Sam McDuffie he was a little white dude who played running back.
Uh-huh.
That was the novelty, right? Like, he's not big, and he's white, but he's super fast, and he can jump over you, and he's going to play running back in college. Not a lot of white college running backs. Like, it is what it is. But
him and Jacob Hester.
Yeah, basically. Anyway, he committed to Michigan. I think he was from Houston. He was a Texas kid. I think he was from Houston area. He committed to Michigan, and under Rich Rodriguez. And the thought of, here's like white Steve Slayton at Michigan for the next 4 years. And that's not really how things materialized for Sam McDuffie. I think he had some concussions that threw a wrench in his career. He ended up at Rice, finished at Rice as a wide receiver. Never made the pros, but Sam McDuffie's high school tape is unreal.
Side note here. I'm reading Noel Devine's Wikipedia. If you want to be depressed, go to the personal life section.
Oh, no.
Both of his parents died of AIDS by the time he was 11, and he had 2 children by the time he was 17 years old. He also watched one of his best friends get shot in person.
Jeez.
Once upon a time, though, Deion Sanders planned to become his legal guardian, and that claim is cited. That's like real. That's real information right there.
So,
do you have a basketball one?
Yes, Akil Carr.
Oh, wow. Akil Carr.
Akil Carr, little guard out of Baltimore.
Yeah, I know the name.
They called him the Crime Stopper because so many people went to see his high school games that the crime rate dropped. So this kid with incredible handle and burst and the coolest nickname ever, I don't even know that he played major college basketball, but the Akil Carr tape, that and Zion's is hilarious because he was playing a bunch of private school kids. He's playing like 1A private school ball in North Carolina.
Oh, yeah. His was insane.
Bunch of 5'6" kids. Here's the coda to Sam McGuffey's athletic career. Sam McGuffey was an Olympic bobsledder.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh.
In 2018.
Yeah. How about that?
Olympic bobsledder, Sam McGuffey.
It does not appear that Akil Carr ever ended up playing college basketball. He did, however, once hit a cyclist with his car.
Oh, no. Yeah. not stopping crime at that point. No, he was only 5'6". Like, it was only going to be what it could be. It looks like he did get a little NBA G League run. Special to Seventh Woods. Seventh Woods
was a good one.
Great tape.
Normie answer, especially in this neck of the woods. No pun intended. Andrew Wiggins was unbelievable at Huntington Prep. His tape is special stuff.
Oh, for sure.
He's only ever been like a super role player in the NBA. Does have one All-Star.
Yeah.
Thanks to the K-pop fans. Does have a championship and was really important on that last Warriors title.
He's had a very good NFL career, an NBA career.
Just not quite living up to Maple Jordan.
No. Didn't quite get there.
I don't know if kids these days, I mean, it was 13 years ago now. I don't know if kids these days understand the hype. I had a good friend in college who was already had signed the paper. He was a year older than me, 2 years older than me, in fact. He had already signed the papers to go spend a semester abroad, and he canceled all of his plans when Andrew Wiggins committed. All of them. Completely changed how he was going to, get his credits and graduate when Andrew Wiggins committed to KU. One of my best friends, we went to KU together, stopped me in the hallway as I was walking into a class. It was our senior year of high school, grabbed me and said, "Wiggins, we got him," and shook me. The hype was unreal. Joel Embiid, on the other hand, was "Oh, that's interesting." Wayne Selden had more hype than Embiid.
Yeah,
Wayne Selden was a big deal too. He was a good college player.
Yeah. The only high school tape I've ever seen of Joel Embiid is where he did a 180. He got to the rim and he didn't really know what to do, and he jumped up and then kind of turned around, and then he realized he was about to land out of bounds, so he just kind of threw the ball back in bounds.
For a little while, his Twitter handle was Joel do a 180 Embiid.
Yes, because that's he was a Jeopardy clue.
Yes,
He was a Jeopardy answer. The answer to the question was, what is the process?
Yes.
Because it was the question was about, the answer was about his nickname. So the question was, what is the process? But the person didn't know the answer, and their answer was, what is do a 180?
I was digging through some bookmarks on Twitter the other day, just going through the vault, and I came across video from, I think it was 2 seasons ago now. KU beat Cincinnati on Big Monday. I was at that game actually. And it was the same night that Embiid dropped 70 for the 76ers.
Mm-hmm.
And Scott Van Pelt brings Bill Self. Anytime KU wins Big Monday or on a Tuesday, they bring Bill Self on because he and SVP are buddies. And Scott asks him, did you see what Embiid did today? And he tells him, and he goes, yeah, he learned all that in his 8 months he spent in Lawrence, Kansas. And then the SVP asked him, did you think he had that in him? And he said, guys, the first time I ever saw Joel Embiid, he was, still really new to the game. I see him in a high school gym. He gets fouled and then chased the kid all around the gym. And at that point, I knew he would one day win MVP. Very funny stuff.
He arguably left more of a mark at area Jefferson's locations than he did on the floor at Allen Fieldhouse.
Correct.
But he is probably the most beloved of the recent vintage KU NBA guys.
It's him and CB. And it's not close to anyone else.
Just go look at the jerseys. Go look at the jerseys in the student section. It's like 70% Embiid.
And like
15% CB.
From Burlington, played high school ball in Overland Park. Like, that kid's going to be
Every
popular.
now and again, you'll see a stray Kings Frank Mason jersey in the wild, or a Hornets Devontae Graham. But yeah. Anyway, we got way off track here. We're going to crown a What Is Wrong With You champion for the month of February here in a little bit. We're going to talk a little college hoops as well. But we do want to talk a little Free Agent Friday. It's our 3rd installment of Free Agent Friday, and we're going to talk about the running backs, which is a class that really thins out after the top. We want to hear from you, your thoughts on the program today. The text line, 785-272-9429, and also your thoughts in the live chat on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. So there are 3 big deal free agent running backs. And of the 3, only 2 of them may make it to free agency because there's a lot of buzz around the Jets wanting to do something to keep Breece Hall long-term. Famously, they did not trade him at the trade deadline. And there's a lot of noise that if they can't do a long-term deal with him, that they will apply the franchise tag to Breece Hall.
Sounds like they may actually be considering the transition tag, where it costs a little bit less, but you can still move the player. It's almost closer to like a restricted free agency kind of thing.
Sure.
That sounds like what that might be trending toward, but it sounds like they want to keep him in. I said this the other day on the show. They have to, because if they let him walk for nothing, they are dumber than we all already know the Jets to be when they refuse to trade him at the deadline. And like, okay, Chiefs, 3rd versus 4th. If you're the Jets and you let him walk and you got nothing, you're foolish. So they kind of have to keep him.
So if he doesn't hit the market, that leaves 2 guys who are top of the depth chart starting running backs in the NFL. Travis Etienne and Kenneth Walker. Of the 2 of those, what do you think is the better fit in Kansas City? Our guy, Matt Derrick, in the 3 o'clock hour said he thinks it's Etienne because Etienne's a bit more of a complete back. I thought Chris Collinsworth was a little harsh on Kenneth Walker in the Super Bowl when he said, well, he can't really block and he can't really catch. That's not quite right. Like, he's not a great pass blocker. There's a reason that he didn't play. Like, even in the Super Bowl without Zach Charbonnet healthy, they played George Holani a lot of 3rd down snaps as a pass protector. So, yes, that's a weakness in his game.
He does have good hands, though.
He
might not run a lot of routes, but he has really good hands.
Yeah, nice hands in the screen game and a good runner in the screen game. So, I think that Walker's lack of being a complete back is a bit overstated. The thing with Walker is he is very much boom or bust, but for a Chiefs team chasing explosive plays, that's a guy who's going to get you some explosive plays in the running game.
Honestly, I just think of Walker as like a 5 to 10% better version of ETN, maybe 10 to 15%. Like, I actually think there's a lot of similarity because ETN is also kind of boom or bust. Now, he was better in his last year at Jacksonville this season than he had been the prior to. And he had really kind of meshed with that offense when it started to take off. That whole offense really played well. Funny enough, after Travis Hunter got injured, but that was more coincidental than anything. there's legit smoke about Travis Etienne to the Chiefs. I think it was reported that Etienne himself said, I would like to play for them, which is kind of a weird approach for an agent to take, but it is what it is. I would be happy with either of these. Walker is definitely the more boom or bust, but you've seen what the boom can be. Super Bowl MVP against the defense that had been really good against the run over the previous several weeks. I'd be content either way. And I think these are two names that kind of make sense for the Chiefs. Like, Etienne is the guy who doesn't need 25 touches a game. Like, you can kind of maximize him looking at around 15. You really don't need to spam him carries. Whereas, Breece Hall, you bring that guy in to give him a big time share here. I don't think you need to do that with Etienne. I think you probably even need to do that a little bit more with Kenneth Walker, given where his profile is right now and what he's going to ask for on the market, which he deserves. I'm not saying he doesn't. But I think Walker is a better player. I would argue Etienne might be a slightly better fit just based on what the Chiefs want to do with their offense. I also would argue this. I think I would take Etienne. Like, you're kind of splitting hairs. He's probably a little bit better in between the tackles, or not even maybe better. Walker just really wants to get outside.
Yes, Walker he's boom or bust because he's always looking for the boom. He's always, and that's why I can tell you from experience, he can be a very frustrating player to watch at times, because there will be a play that looks like it's there for 4 or 5 yards, but he's going to lose 3 because he was trying to turn it into 40.
And in college, when he was the entire offense for Michigan State, it was fine because he was bigger and faster and stronger than everybody. This is the NFL. He's bigger and faster than a lot of guys, but not everybody. So it again becomes that frustrating thing. And Etienne likes to bounce the same as well. I don't think Etienne has like elite vision by any means, but I think you trust him a little bit more in between the tackles. And I think the Chiefs are going to have a top 10 offensive line this year. Like, I've bought in entirely on that line, not just being good enough. I think they're going to be really good, assuming you're healthy. Duh. I think I'd probably end up going with Etienne here because of those reasons. And he'll probably be a little bit cheaper, but still a legit starter. Still, from that group of two, that pair, I would lean Etienne because you can probably get most of the same production for a slightly smaller price tag.
The projected market value, according to Spotrac, has Walker at $9 million a year and Etienne at $6.8 million a year. So there is a difference.
Yeah,
there.
Man, I would take that.
Yeah, Etienne at 6.8. I think you wouldn't have to do much to convince me that made some sense. Let me ask you about this group of guys, because I don't know if these are running back 1A, but I think they could be part of I think they've proven they can be part of an effective job share. Rico Dowdle, Tyler Algier, and Rachaad White.
Okay. So in the YouTube comments, I believe it was Andrew. Yes, Andrew already called out Tyler Algier, and I'm glad he did. I think this should be option 1. I would put him ahead of Etienne.
Okay.
It sort of gets lost because Bijan Robinson, you could argue, is the best running back in the NFL right now. I think I might make that argument. Like, Bijan is awesome. Bijan, I don't know. I'll go with Bijan. Tyler Algier was a legit starter before him. Kind of made Robinson a bad pick. It was a luxury for sure because Algier is more than good enough. And in that run game last year for an offense that was not great, although it did have nice pieces in the receiving game, the tandem of Robinson and Algier was really good. And don't forget, Algier was a really good player at BYU in college as well. He is not necessarily a home run hitter. He doesn't have elite top end speed, but he can break those off. But he, to me, is going to just be a way better version of what you were trying to do previously. Like the explosives, yeah, you're looking at runs of like 8 to 12 more than you're looking at 20 plus maybe with him. But if you're just trying, okay, we're going to beat you up the run game, jab, 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 road grade, chance to close the game with our running back in this line, he can do that to a degree that Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco could not. Like, the idea of what Isaiah Pacheco is, like kind of that hammer in the run game who could break one once in a while, Algier actually does that and has film to back it up. I think Algier is really good. I saw a report today from Josh Kendall, is it? That Algier is looking for a deal in the neighborhood of 3 years, $22 million. So that's 7.3 a year. And if you're telling me Walker at 8, Etienne at 6.8, or Algier at 7.3, and the third year would be funny money, obviously, I would take Algier. I would swing for that. I think he'd be a great fit. Pair him with a 7th-round rookie. Well, they don't have a 7th-rounder. A day 3 rookie.
They have a 7th-round rookie from last year. Or 7th-round second-year guy.
Fine. If that's your duo, you can do a little thunder and lightning thing with the two of them using Smith's speed. That would be my 1A option this year. And I put Etienne second and Walker a close third.
So I like Algier the best of that group that includes Dowdle and White. And I think that...
I don't like White. I'm going to be honest. I do not... I don't think that's a very good one.
The reason he lost his gig, right?
Yes.
There's a reason he lost that gig to Bucky Irving in Tampa Bay. The reason that Algier, I think, is tempting is you make that signing, you don't tip your hand on Jeremiah Love before the draft, because you can say Algier can be our number 1, or he can also be a number 2 to a really talented number 1, which he has been in Atlanta the last couple of years. I think you can sign Algier and feel good about your running back room to the point where it is not Jeremiah Love or bust. You have a starting caliber running back in your room. Do you think there's appeal in adding another veteran to the group? There are some guys that are free agents that have a defined skill set, like J.K. Dobbins is really great for half a season. Kenneth Gainwell has terrific hands and is, I think, an appealing 3rd down option. Obviously, Kareem Hunt is a short yardage back. There are a few better. You got Brian Robinson out there. He's bounced around a little bit. I don't think they need to swim in the go poking through the grab bag. The guys like Najee Harris, Jerome Ford, old ass Raheem Mostert, A.J. Dillon coming off an injury. Like, I don't necessarily think they need to do that unless it's desperation. Maybe late in the offseason, one of those guys is sitting out there and you didn't get Jeremiah Love, then okay. But no, I think that for me, I like both Walker and Etienne quite a bit, but I think Algier plus maybe a veteran like Gainwell, and then you add Brashard Smith to that mix, and that gives you options going into the draft where you don't feel like if Love is there and you love him, no pun intended, then you go take him and you pair him with Algier and you're all set.
I think if Rodgers ends up back in Pittsburgh, Gainwell will go back because, I mean,
Rodgers loves Gainwell.
Insane. Yeah, which kind of weird because he never used to love throwing to running backs. That, like, he would, but it wasn't his favorite thing. He loved Kenneth Gainwell put up crazy numbers when you look at like efficiency and down to down and all of that. But that being said, Gainwell's a better receiving back than he is a true running back. He's fine on the ground, but he is a 3rd down option, outlet guy.
And maybe you feel like Brashard Smith is capable of filling that kind of a role.
He's not the exact same kind of player as Jerick McKinnon. McKinnon was an elite pass protector.
Yes.
And he was also smaller. But in 2 of his 3 years with the Chiefs, Jerick McKinnon had more receptions than rushes.
Yeah.
Now, one of those years, he only had 25 touches total, but still, that to me would be interesting. And you can get him cheap. He was like 1 year, $4 million last year. Pair him with Algier. I think that's a good combo.
Yeah. You've got chump change probably for the rest of, guys like Robinson or Jerome Ford, who I've liked at various points of his career.
If you'll allow me to fantasy book in wrestling parlance for 1 second before the break, if you're giving me dream scenario, free agency draft, I'm demanding skill position help this year in the draft. You sign Tyler Algier to around $7.5 million a year. You go get Kenny Gainwell on a 1-year deal. Draft Carnell Tate-Knife. That gets you a receiver who can do everything. You fix your running back problem. You can move everyone else down a line in the wide receiver room. Find a vet to help out for the cheap. That would be my ideal fix for those spots.
They have to go get a guy who is going to make it to where they do not need to trade up for Jeremiah Love in the draft. At the end of the day, you've got to give yourself options. So if Love lands in your in your lap and you love him and you want him to be on your team, then take him. And then you've got a 2 guys who can run the ball effectively and helps your running game out quite a bit. But if you don't, you still want to be in good shape if Love goes at 8 or if he goes 5 to the Giants and the Giants want to do Love and Scattaboo moving forward, which I've heard some rumors of. That's going to do it for Free Agent Friday. We're going to take our first time out of this hour. We'll come back. We'll crown a February champion on What Is Wrong With You on 580 Sports Talk. It's time to crown a February champion on What Is Wrong With You here on 580 Sports Talk. Gang is all here for this. Spencer Dupuis couldn't be left out. He's here. Brendan Dworzinski's obviously here. I'm Dan Lucero. I'm here. We got two stories competing to win our February championship. This is as good a monthly championship as I think we've had in a while. In one corner, we have the teacher doing blow at school, 58-year-old Lori Laubenstein of Appleton, Wisconsin, accused of using cocaine in the bathroom of her classroom. Well, what evidence do they have that she was using cocaine in the bathroom of her classroom? They found cocaine in the bathroom of her classroom, which led to them bringing a drug dog to school who found cocaine on the person of the Ms. Laubenstein. She was interviewed and told investigators she started using cocaine in August. You know, I'm not old enough yet to have had a midlife crisis. I'm getting there faster than I'd like to admit, but I'm not old enough yet to have had a midlife crisis. I just want to know what kind of midlife crisis you're having where part of your thought process is, you know what habit I'm going to take up? Coke.
Yeah, don't want that.
It's
do not want that.
Because for starters, not a cheap habit.
No.
Not
for the good stuff.
No, not a cheap habit. Not like, going, I'm gonna get really into craft beer. And you go buy like at $12 for a build your own 6-pack or something, and then you drink those at home.
Yeah.
Like yeah, do it at home alone like a normal person.
Right, yeah. Cocaine is a social drug. I just don't know that you really want to be social while you're on cocaine. It's the 3 R's: reading, writing, and rails of coke.
Yeah, put on an episode of Liberty's Kids in the classroom and then got high in the back. This one's insane, dude.
Yeah.
She told police she always cleans up after herself and would never put her students in danger. I kind of think they were in some danger. Their teacher was high on blow.
Yeah. Hey, can we play with the magic 8-ball? What do you mean? Oh, the toy. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, the toy? Oh,
no,
yeah.
That's what I meant too.
That's totally fine. Can I
Definitely what we're talking
teacher,
about.
can I go to the bathroom? I got to go check something in there real quick. Have either of you seen my credit card?
Can I use the bathroom? No, you can't actually.
So that's one winner. Our second winner for the month competing today: 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, and an Angry Guy's buns. I don't know what crawled up William Heath's backside on this particular day in Gainesville, Florida, but the 47-year-old became visibly agitated at the McDonald's when he saw a group of teenagers looking at him. He started an argument with the gaggle of teens, and in the chaos, threw his Dr. Pepper at them, dousing 2 of them. Heath retreated into the parking lot. The teenagers weren't far behind. Look, you throw a Dr. Pepper at me, you're going to have to see me about it. I'm not going to just let that slide. He pulled a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and flopped into a bush near the sidewalk, allegedly pretending the group had ganged up on him and shoved him into the bushes, which witnesses said did not happen. He then turned around and allegedly mooned the teens, exposing his bare bottom while spanking himself and caressing his left butt cheek. I love the detail. I love the specificity of the detail there. Police claim that Heath confessed to the entire situation after being read his Miranda rights. He tried to defend himself by grousing that he felt the teens had upset and insulted him. He was charged with 2 counts of simple battery, 2 counts of lewd and lascivious exhibition.
Yeah, I'll say.
Also, race and sexuality may have played a role because he was slurring the teens outside as well.
All right.
So
Good old William Heath.
I mean, I just want to say how much that had to suck for the teenagers. Just enjoying your McDonald's, enjoying your McNuggets, enjoying your McChicken, and the next thing you know, you're covered in Dr. Pepper, and a strange old man with a long beard is showing you his ass.
And then doing like not only showing you, but touching it too.
Yeah, making sure you see every contour.
Don't use the word contour right now. It itself is not a dirty word, but right now, thinking about old man ass, not what I want to think about.
So we got to pick a winner between these two.
Oh no!
I'm going with the teacher doing blow. We can't be doing that in the school classroom.
Yeah.
Again, this is new to me that classrooms themselves have bathrooms in them. My elementary school did not. So this would have, at my school, required the teacher to be frequently leaving the room to walk down the hall to the one bathroom on the floor to,
Right.
But so this is a little foreign to
How
me,
fast
but
do you-
so much worse.
How fast do you think she was ripping through the ABCs?
Oh, lightning quick. Lightning quick.
My elementary school, kindergarten, first, second, and third grade all had bathrooms in their classrooms.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, my building was really old, but still.
Going to step aside. You check out this episode of Arthur for about 5 minutes. Miss L's got to go hit the slopes.
Yeah, that's my vote.
That's going to be a clean sweep. That ain't chalkboard dust. That is our February champion on What Is Wrong With You. Spencer's out. So am I. I'm on my way to Seaman High School for tonight's 580 Preps Game of the Week doubleheader, the regular season finale between Seaman and Shawnee Heights. That means Brendan's got you the rest of the way here on 580 Sports Talk.
Little Jurassic 5 bringing us back in on this Feel Good Friday afternoon. Brendan Dworzinski here with you in studio for the remainder of the program. We will pass it off to the recently departed Dan Lucero and the coach Larry Latimer coming up sometime next hour for pregame coverage of our 580 Preps High School Basketball Game of the Week doubleheader, our last one for the 25-26 season. In the regular season, we've got sub-state coverage next week, state tournament the week after that. We can't wait for it. All the action right here on 580 WIBW. And I will tell you this, just a quick little inside baseball, but a programming note, let's put it that way for you. I love that KSHA, the Activities Association, has changed up where the sites are for state. Now, I think the opening round quarterfinal games on Tuesday, Wednesday, that will take some getting used to and working the kinks out of all of that. But having multiple classes at the same sites and going from having them all over to a smaller number of them, so 5 and 6, 3 and 4, 1A, 2 and 2, and then 1A1 on its own. I think this is great, not just for us coverage-wise, but for the state. You get these bigger celebrations of basketball. I'm sure there's some communities that are not thrilled about it, but I think it is going to be awesome if you go out to any of these sites, the state basketball tournament. It is going to be such a blast. Dawn until dusk, basketball all day, the best of the best in the state. I can't wait for it. And the best part about it for the road to a championship here on 580 WIBW is that we're going to have coverage from 6 of the 7 classes live and in person. We'll have folks in Emporia, in Wichita, in Hutchinson for 6 of the 7 classes. We'll have coverage wall to wall Thursday, Friday, Saturday of the state tournament. We'll be going all day long outside the consolation games. So we'll have the finals from all those classes, boys and girls, coming up on Saturday. We'll have all sorts of semifinal action on Thursday and Friday. It is going to be a blast, so we cannot wait for that. Some of your favorite faces and voices from 580 Sports Talk in years past will be joining the coverage as well. Don't know if we're making that official yet, but if you missed any of the fine folks that have played big roles on the show in recent years, don't worry, because you're going to hear from several of them, along with Dan, of course, coming up during the state tournament. I'll be anchoring the desk a couple of days. Spencer will be anchoring the desk on Championship Saturday. So that's all coming up here just a few weeks away on the 580 Preps Road to a Championship here on 580 WIBW. As for some college hoops coming up this weekend, we are fired up for, well, one of these games anyway. KU and K-State both playing. I'll touch on K-State TCU real quick. No thanks. Don't need it. Don't need that in my life. They tip off, I believe it's at 5:30 on Saturday. I'm good. Don't need that. I caught the tail end of the K-State Colorado game on Wednesday. They were playing. I got to my car and I was almost home at the 4-minute under 4 media timeout. And so I got to listen to the last segment of the game, and K-State was pushing, and I know they had gotten it close at one point and just couldn't quite get it done if they had fallen so far behind. In credit for fighting, I guess. I saw some people trying to pump sunshine that, hey, they're fighting, but like this program should be way too proud to do the moral victory thing, even in a crappy season. Matt Driscoll has them battling, and I give him credit. I think he prefers Matthew. Matthew Driscoll has them fighting. Odd guy, to say the least. Odd gentleman, had some bizarre quotes in the post-game press conference. I don't think he's going to get the interim tag pulled next season. Just a little hunch there. I don't need to see them play again. I don't need to see them play TCU. I'm good. I'll pass on that one personally. I hope they win. Cat fans, I hope they get a win. I hope they make you happy at 5:30 on Saturday. The big game locally, obviously, and one of the big games in the country this weekend, KU versus Arizona at the McHale Center down in Tucson. I was digging through here some numbers on KU. So in KU's last 12 games, since losing to West Virginia in a game that, God, they should not have lost. Since losing that game, KU has played 12 and is 10-2 in that stretch. The loss to Iowa State on the road, forgivable. The loss at home to Cincinnati, far less so. But you bounce back with the win against Houston on Monday night. So I'm looking at the numbers here from T-Rank. That's Bart Torvik, barttorvik.com. A lot like, we cite KenPom all the time. It's an advanced analytical site. They give you a ranking for adjusted offense, adjusted defense, overall rating, what they do in terms of turnover rate, rebounding rate, the 4 factors, things like that. And it's free. Unlike Ken Palm, which you get the basic numbers, but you can't get all the inside data. You have to pay for that. Torvik is free. T-Rank is free. It's a really good resource. Not the only thing. It's not the only way to judge a team, but it's a nice resource. And you can sort it from a certain start date to a certain end point. So I took the day after KU lost to West Virginia to today. And according to these numbers, KU is the 7th best team in the country in terms of adjusted efficiency and adjusted rating since that game over their last 12. Where's Arizona, you might ask? 6th. These teams are right on top of each other. And there's actually a little bit of a drop-off between KU and Purdue, which is the team that comes in next in that stretch. Duke, best team in the country since then. Yeah, we can understand why. So KU is playing overall really well, even with that dud against Cincinnati in the mix there. You take that game out, KU plays even a C-plus game as opposed to a D-minus game there. You're probably talking about a team that right now is ranking in the top 5, probably ahead of Arizona, probably ahead of Illinois, which ranks 5th in that time period. I think the narratives for this game, with that in mind, talking about who is going to win, who could win this game, it is going to be more difficult for KU to win at Arizona than it was to win at home. And it was extremely difficult at home for KU to win that game because Darryn Peterson wasn't available, and we did not know that until, 25 minutes before that game tipped off. But the crowd was incredible. Everybody contributed to the win. Melvin Council was just unbelievable. Flory was incredible in that game. I have a note on Flory coming up in headlines today, by the way. But now you're going to the McHale Center. They are going to be keyed up. It's going to be an incredible environment down there. Bear Down, Arizona, all that stuff. The narrative here for Arizona is pretty simple. If they lose, there are going to be questions about their ability to hang with the big boys. They've won plenty of big games, but you lost to not the greatest KU team twice. Or do we have to worry about Tommy Lloyd's team in the tournament again? Is it fair? That's up to you. Is that going to be the discussion? Yes, absolutely. That is going to be the discussion. Because don't forget, Arizona also lost their first game after playing KU last time as well. They dropped 2 in a row at that point. For KU, a 2 seed is not out of the realm of possibility. It's going to be difficult at this point to get to a 2 seed. I look at a lot of different bracketologists at this time of year. If that's not your thing, I totally understand, but I think it's fun. I think it's interesting. Joe Lenardi is who everybody goes to at ESPN. We cite him a lot on the show. He doesn't do a great job with it. He's a little outdated in that regard. But there's a website called Bracket Matrix, and they take hundreds of brackets from around the internet of varying qualities, put them together and say, okay, on average, here is where all these teams seed out. Right now, they've got KU as a 3 seed, the last 3 seed. I've seen other things today that indicated they would be your top or maybe second 3 seed on the overall seed line, which would help when it comes to the location and being placed where you want to be placed for the regional weekend and for the opening weekend as well. KU would love to play in either St. Louis or Oklahoma City as opposed to having to go to Greenville or wherever else they may have to go on the East Coast or West Coast. I think a 2 seed is in play for Kansas, but the only way to get it, maybe there's 2 ways. If you win the Big 12 tournament, that is certainly possible because you just won the most difficult conference tournament in the country. You won all those games, a bunch of extra quad 1 wins. Maybe that pushes you over the top. But the best way, the best opportunity to put yourself in position to get a top 2 seed in this year's tournament is to beat this Arizona team. Can't do that. Yeah, you're probably looking at a 3, and that's fine. It's not a bad seed by any means. You'd love to be on the 2 line, get as many favorable matchups as possible. If you beat Arizona, I do still believe that you can get to that point. Can you find the offensive touch, and can you do enough to frustrate Arizona with your defense in this game to pick up another win? Because it would certainly be an upset. I haven't seen a spread on this game as of yet. I'm sure it's out. I'll check that for you here at the commercial break. Can you do that? I think the answer is yes, you can. Are you going to be able to? Obviously a little bit more difficult. I think the smart money play is on Arizona here. Again, I'm curious to see what the spread is. Smart money play is on Arizona to get this one done at home at the McHale Center. But again, there's more on the line here for KU. There's legitimate seeding versus just narrative for Arizona. And I'll be honest with you, if I'm going to take anyone in a do-or-die situation this year, I'm going to ride with the team that's got Melvin Council on it. No doubt about that. We have to get to a quick timeout. We're going to check that spread. We'll wrap up this 4 o'clock hour, get you ready for the 5 after this on 580 Sports Talk. Told you I was going to check the spread on that KU Arizona game before we get to the top of the hour break. KU right now is an 8.5-point underdog. Man, it's hard to play at the McHale Center. Arizona is obviously a great, great, great team. You give me 8.5 of this KU team, I'm going to take it. I'll take the candy on that one. Maybe it's a bit of a trap line. I don't think so. I don't think that's a fair assessment for this. I'll take KU plus 8.5. I think Arizona probably, again, smart money to win the game outright, but you give me that many points, I'll take the Jayhawks to keep it close. Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, we've got headlines. We might do a quick AMA. We'll get you ready for high school hoops. It's all coming up here on 580 WIBW. is the final hour of 580 Sports Talk coming your way here on 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online around the world at 580WIBW.com, and of course, with the magic of video technology. You know, we've got talkies now, and you can actually watch us just like you would watch Al Jolson in The Jazz Singer. You can watch us on YouTube. I actually don't know if you can watch The Jazz Singer on YouTube. You might be able to. It's probably in the public domain at this point, I would guess. So you probably can find it. But while you wait to watch, one of the seminal moments of film history, go to youtube.com and search 580 Sports Talk. Just type it in, 580 Sports Talk. Hit enter, return, whatever. Click the little search button. When you find us, we'll be the first result there. Make sure you like the channel. You subscribe to the channel. That's the most important thing. You subscribe to the channel, and then you go and like the video, and you can watch us. You can watch me. It's just me today. Dan is getting ready for high school basketball. Spencer had been here since about 2:30 a.m., so he's taking the rest of the day off. Not quite 2:30, but close to it. So it's just me taking you home today. We'll pass you off to Dan Lucero and the 580 Preps High School Basketball Game of the Week doubleheader brought to you by Aero Exteriors. Seaman versus Shawnee Heights coming up tonight from Viking Gymnasium. Should be a really fun pair of games to wrap up the regular season in Kansas high school hoops. That's coming up in a little bit. I didn't know if we were going to do our Friday AMA today because I thought, well, it's short on time. They have the early pregame start in the United Kansas Conference. May not have time. But I'll just give you a little inside baseball here, a little inside the Beltway. Buddy, we do not have many headlines today. It has not been the busiest headline day in the sports news world, at least in terms of things that are worth bringing to these airwaves for you. So we'll get to our headlines. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll rifle through a few Ask Me Anything questions. If you've got any, I want to hear them. Mark B has already sent one out in the YouTube comments today. So if you want to let us know your thoughts, hit me up. Text line number 785-272-9429. Or you can drop us a line over on the YouTube. Again, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. I want to know your questions. Ask me anything. I mean anything, except if it's R-rated. I really can't say it or talk about it on the air because, the FCC. The other Brendan Carr, the head of the FCC, would not be very happy with me. So send them over. YouTube, text line. We'll get to those coming up in our second segment of this shortened 5 o'clock hour. All right, let's get to them. Today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. We will start with a little KU hoops. We ended the 4 o'clock hour talking KU. I mentioned we had a note on Flory Badunga, and Flory has been named one of the finalists for the National Defensive Player of the Year Award. The Naismith Men's College Defensive Player of the Year late season team. It's a 15-man watch list, the semifinalists, finalists, however you want to refer to it. This season, Flory is leading the Big 12 in blocked shots at 2.8 per game. That's the third best mark nationally. He has been incredible. He is the only player in all of Division I, and basketball does this better than any other sport. You can't get this granular and cherry-picked and off the wall in any other sport. Flory this season is the only player in the country, D1, to average at least 14 points, 8.5 rebounds, and 2.5 blocks per game. He is awesome. Bill Self called him way early in the season. You go back to that Arizona game at Allen Fieldhouse, and around that time when Bill Self started calling him the best defensive player in the country. And I would really go back as far as to the K-State game, the first K-State game, where Bill Self put Flory Badunga on PJ Haggerty in the first half. And PJ, who this season still is one of the top 5 scorers in terms of points per game in the country, and he didn't do jack nor squat for the first 18 minutes of that game. Flory ate him up. The ability to switch him onto guards, it's one of the biggest mismatches that any team can create in college basketball this year. So it's been awesome to see Flory really take off in that regard. We knew he was a good defensive player, but for him to do even more this year has been absolutely fantastic. By the way, your other finalists here for the Defensive Player of the Year in college basketball as it currently stands. Names that you would know, a couple of Dukies on the list. Cameron Boozer, he's the big superstar. Malik Brown as well. Jaden Bradley from Arizona. You will see him coming up this weekend. Jojo Tugler from Houston. Ade Mara from Michigan. Taman Lipsey at Iowa State. Yaxel Lendeborg also at Michigan. 2 former Kansas Jayhawks also on the list. Ernest Uday at Miami and Zuby Ejiofor at St. John's. Both those guys, obviously, as we know, they felt pushed out the door when Hunter Dickinson came to town. Didn't really work out for KU in terms of the overall team success. It happens. I was in favor of it at the time, and I'm not going to turn my back and say, no, actually, this was clear they should have kept Ejiofor and Uday. No, I was in favor of bringing on Dickinson at the time. It is what it is. Worked out now because this KU team is really damn good, and Miami is not. And St. John's just had one of the worst losses of the season earlier this week against UConn. So glad where things turned out. And 3 either current or former Jayhawks all on the list for National Defensive Player of the Year. Marcus Garrett won this award back in 2020, by the way. It hasn't been a thing for all that long, but one Jayhawk already has it. That was Marcus Garrett. I loved Mark G. He was absolutely awesome. All right, continuing on with today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. Let's stick with college sports. I'm not going to stick with this for very long because we're getting into some murky waters. This is the writing of Heather Dinich from ESPN, so I'll just read her words here. The Power 4 conference commissioners are expected to join dozens of sports celebrities and dignitaries on March 6th at the White House in a roundtable discussion with President Donald Trump about the future of college athletics, according to multiple sources. I'm not sure if Dan and Spencer got to this yesterday, or at least Dan did yesterday, but I just wanted to share something on this real quick. My preface for this: I am not going to make any commentary about the partisan nature of the politics here, because I'm not starting any fights, guys. I call it Feel Good Friday for a reason. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to say anything about that. I have one stance, though, on the matter. Among the people on the list that are going to be in attendance here, one is Douglas Gerard, who is the chancellor at KU, but also other people involved include Tiger Woods, okay, Nick Saban, Mac Brown, Urban Meyer, former coaches, former Secretary of State and Selection Committee member, and now part owner of the Denver Broncos, Condoleezza Rice, President of the Patriots, yes, the NFL's Patriots, Jonathan Kraft, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, the chairman and president of ESPN and Fox Sports, respectively, Jimmy Pitaro and Eric Shanks, multiple athletic directors, and former athletes, including Tim Tebow. I don't feel like they're getting the best representation possible at this event because there's no current players involved and no one who is actively representing the current players. That, to me, is the biggest issue with this. Again, I'm not trying to talk about the partisan nature of it. I'm just saying that if you're not going to also include someone or someone's representing the players, because like it or not, even if you are the most, hardline, old school, I want to go back to the days of no transfers without sitting out, I want to go back to the pre-NIL. Even if you are in that camp, I think that it's fair to say that the reality of the situation is that's not where we are right now in college sports. The players have that freedom of movement. They've had it for a while. They've been able to make money through NIL, through rev share, through, frankly, the change in what NIL actually means and the way they generate the money that way. That's where we are. Even if you don't like it, that's where we are. I think that's a totally fair way to put this. So to not have any representation from that group, an absolutely gigantic group, and the actual athletes, feels like a whiff to me. Urban Meyer and Nick Saban, and I don't know about Mac Brown, but those jump off the page of me. We know the stance for those guys. Like the fact that Nick Saban pretty much got out of the game because he didn't like dealing with the modern era of college sports. You might as well throw Coach K and Roy and throw in, oh my God, I couldn't stand him. Jay Wright. Sorry. Jay Wright. Other guys who got out of college basketball because they didn't like dealing with the modern era. Why not throw them in there? It's too much the same opinion. And people whose opinion we already know. Not the political side, just in terms of where they stand on the era of college sports. In my opinion, to not have some sort of representation of the athletes is a miss and probably telegraphs where this conversation is going to go. Is it going to change anything? Impossible to say at this point. But I just feel like you're missing a big part, even if you don't want to agree with that part. The fact that they're not going to have a seat literally at the table feels like a miss, in my opinion. All right. Too much that was tightroping here with the politics. Let's move on to something else. Let's get to the NFL. Some notes from today. I know we've got some folks who are really hoping the Chiefs make a play for George Pickens. Well, it's going to become a little bit harder. As predicted, the Dallas Cowboys have put the franchise tag, or are going to, as soon as they possibly can, put the franchise tag on George Pickens. Now, I have seen a report somewhere, and I wish I could give you a source on this. I couldn't find the report a little bit earlier on. But George Pickens said he doesn't want to do this. He wants a long-term extension, or he's not going to show up and play. We'll see about that. The way the franchise tag was supposed to work, I say this every single year because the players hate the thing, but it was supposed to be, okay, it's the last resort. We want to keep a franchise player. We haven't gotten a deal done yet. We're going to put the tag on him, work out a long-term deal, and if we can't, at least we have a last resort that he gets highly paid for a year and we keep him for an extra year. A lot of teams don't use it like that. They use it intentionally to try to trade a player, which I think is fair enough. Some use it just to hold the rights over a player, hold it over their head. Look at the Washington, whatever team they were at the time, what they did with Kirk Cousins, totally screwing him over. Kirk, if he wasn't already Mr. Steal Yo Bag, certainly became Mr. Steal Yo Bag after that debacle with Washington. That being said, if you're going to use it just as a way to say, hey, we're going to hedge our bets, and George Pickens is extremely talented, but he's also a total lunatic head case on the field, and we want to protect ourselves against something crazy long-term, I can understand why the Dallas Cowboys are doing this, to be completely frank with you. So the franchise tag dollar value for wide receivers, and I do have it here. Let me see if I can pull it up for you. I cannot quickly enough without having a bunch of typing sounds behind me. So it's pricey. It's upwards of $28 million. Now, the cap is going up. More on that in a moment. But if you're the Chiefs, you've already cleared $40+ million by restructuring Mahomes. You'll have to restructure Chris Jones. You'll have to do all sorts of cap math to fit Travis Kelce in should he come back. You'll have to cut more players. Juwan Taylor would be among them, and probably several others. You've already cut Mike Dana just to have a chance. And then you're in a real difficult spot when it comes to trying to sign other free agents as well as your draft class. He would be, without question, we had this discussion a couple of weeks ago on a Friday show, without question, would be the best possible talent you could add as a skill position player. Without question. Even with the baggage, and we know the Chiefs are not one team to really care about baggage, especially if it's just on the field stuff, right? But there's so many holes, in my opinion, on this Chiefs team. You need depth on the defensive line and guys you can get after the quarterback. You've got to find depth in the cornerback room. You need help at wide receiver, obviously. You need running back help. I think they need tight end help. Offensive line is set. Other than that, I think they could use help pretty much everywhere. Drew Tranquil might get cut. You need linebacker depth. That's probably a draft pick there. But Leo Chanel, he's gone too. You've got to get help there. That I don't think personally it makes sense to put all your eggs in one player's basket, even if that player would be immediately the second most talented player on your offense behind Patrick Mahomes. That's the only reason I'm there. I don't know if the Cowboys would want to move him anyway. They probably want to keep him with how well their offense played in the back portion of last season, but that's the math that works out on George Pickens at this point. I assume, in all likelihood, he's going to be a Cowboy coming up next season. Also, for the NFL, real quickly here, two other notes, as I just mentioned. The salary cap is going up $22 million this year. Each team's cap now, before rollover and penalties and all of that, is $301.2 million. In 1994, when the cap first started, Reggie White, all that, when the NFL first introduced the salary cap, it was $34 million. And I know that was a long time ago. Trust me, I was born that year. I know exactly how long ago that was. For it to have gone up this much is absolutely crazy. It used to be pretty consistently like 9 to 10 million a year. It's going up 20 plus now every year. So that's going to help. Teams that really need the cap space, this is a big help to have the cap going up 22 million. Unfortunately, this is becoming so commonplace with that kind of dollar amount, you don't have quite the flexibility maybe you used to have. But the Chiefs will happily take that. And teams that already had a ton of cap space, they are going to blow through this on bad contracts like you would not believe. One other story from the NFL, and this really ties into college football as well. The Atlanta Falcons have fired assistant coach LaTroy Lewis. He was the assistant defensive line coach hired earlier this offseason after allegations of sexual assault had surfaced against him. The Ann Arbor, Michigan Police Department, confirmed to ESPN that they're currently investigating allegations of assault against Lewis. The spokesman for the department said the Ann Arbor PD was recently made aware of the woman's allegations, which stem from a December 2024 incident while he was on the staff at Michigan under head coach Sherrone Moore. We know about the absolute calamity that was the end of the Sherrone Moore time and really the entire time at the University of Michigan. A lot of guys who worked under Jim Harbaugh. This is now 13 guys that have faced some sort of punishment, either criminally or in terms of being fired from their football job, stemming from incidents at the University of Michigan, working for these last two regimes. That is horrendous. Truly horrific. I'm not going to get into the details of this. If you want, you can look it up. They're all over the internet now for LaTroy Lewis. Nasty situation. That Michigan team did the right thing, cleaning house and bringing in Kyle Whittingham, who's going to run a clean ship, a tight ship, all those things. But man, anyone affiliated with Sherrone Moore or frankly Jim Harbaugh and his time at Michigan at this point would be persona non grata if I was running a football team or frankly any kind of business. That does it for our 580 Sports Talk headlines. We're going to get to a quick timeout. We're going to come back to a quick Friday AMA. If you want to ask me anything, literally anything, keep it PG-13. You can ask it either on the text line 785-272-9429 or drop it in the YouTube comments. We'll get to a quick round of an AMA after this on 580 Sports Talk. How perfect that the track Feels Good leads us into a little Feel Good Friday Ask Me Anything here on 580 Sports Talk. We open it up to you on the other side of your radio, your computer, your phone, your car speaker, whatever you're listening on right now or watching if you're on the YouTube. Ask me anything, whatever you want to ask about any topics. We've got plenty that have come in. Don't know how much time we'll have for all of them, per usual, because we've got to get you out to our 580 Preps High School Basketball Game of the Week doubleheader brought to you by Aero Exteriors, Seaman versus Shawnee Heights. As soon as they're ready for pregame, we'll send you out to Viking Gymnasium with Dan Lucero and with Larry Latimer for what should be a really fun doubleheader going on in North Topeka tonight. But we will breeze through as many as we can. We will start on the text line. A comment here. I've actually seen this twice, once in the YouTube comments and once on the text line from the 785. Making a comment, the Big 12 is the second best league in the nation behind the NBA. Brett Yormark said that. I think it was either earlier today or yesterday. I actually love that he said that. Every once in a while, Yormark says something where I think, okay, a little too much dip on the chip. I actually love that he said that because I know it's going to make people mad, and I find that extremely funny. All right, on to the questions. We've got a few in here from a texter in the 785. We'll breeze through these. One of these is really difficult. Okay, first, I'm not a golfer, but he asks, or she, asks, where are you golfing, Augusta or St. Andrews? So I'm not a big golfer, but if you're telling me I got to go play somewhere, so pick somewhere to go, I'm taking St. Andrews because then I get to take a trip out of the country. I've been to Georgia plenty of times. The Atlanta area, very nice. But if I'm only getting to pick one, send me to Europe and fine, I'll go golfing. At least I get to do it in Europe. It's the birthplace of the game. Why not? Lots of history there. I only get to pick one, also in the 785. Kansas wins the national championship next year or the Packers win the Super Bowl. Okay. I think my answer is the same regardless. If we're doing both football, college, and so college football instead of college basketball, it becomes maybe a little bit more difficult. Not that I don't want KU hoops to win the national title again, because that's awesome, but I've lived through that within the last 4 years. It has been now 15 years since I've seen the Packers win a Super Bowl, and I have more disposable income now to spend on championship merch. And also, like, I love KU. You guys know I love KU passionately, and I try to be fair, but my bias has come out. I love my alma mater. I've loved the Green Bay Packers since I was 3 years old. So generally speaking, I'm going with the Packers no matter what. But if you're saying KU football, that means we just got the craziest college football season of all time. Well, Indiana just won a national title. Second craziest of all time. That makes it a little tough. I'm going Packers because it's not specific in the question. I do appreciate the question from the 785. Man, that's a tough one. That is tough. I'll go Packers. It's an easy default. Our same texter says all-time KU basketball starting lineup and coach. Okay, we don't have enough time to get through everybody in history because they have to go through, I mean, Wilt, obviously. Danny is obvious. I mean, Clyde Lovelett has to go on there. Valentine from way back. I mean, you've got so many names throughout history. I will give you just in the time that I've lived in Kansas because that is going to be a little bit easier for me. So I'm going to go Frank at the point. I will also throw, if we're just talking in terms of talent, like, I got to put Darryn Peterson on the team. Like, he's the most talented KU player that I have literally ever seen. If I'm just picking my favorites from that group, I'm totally screwing with your question, 785 texter. I apologize for that. I'm also going to I'm putting DP on the team, man. I really do think he is the most talented player I've seen in a KU uniform. I will put at the center, if we're talking talent, I've got to go Joel. No, Doak. I'm going to put Doak there. Joel didn't play enough. I did love Landon Lucas. Landon was my guy, but I'm going to put Doak down there. I need more shooting. I need a little size too. Man, that's tough. This might be my final word. Give me a pause to finish off my starting five from the last 13 years. I'm going to give you that as my final word coming up today. So hold on to that texter from the 785. Other comments in from the YouTube feed as we are running through a little Friday edition of Ask Me Anything. This also from a texter or from a YouTube comment. This is from Andrew on YouTube. Do I think I could go under 100 at Augusta? No. 2 golf questions. How about that? No, I absolutely could not. If I broke 150, I think that would be awesome for me. The last time I went golfing, I played on a 9-hole Muni course, and I was like 20 over par. And that was now, granted, the course sucked. It was just a park district forest preserve course back in my hometown. And it was fun. I was just joking around with my buddies. We were just having a good time. I think I had 1 par in 9-hole. Disaster. I'm terrible at it. I don't hide it. He was like, you just hate golf because you're bad at it. Well, I don't like the sport, but also I do suck. I will 100% admit that. I do very much suck at it. I would not even come close to breaking 100. Like 150 would be my goal number if I was playing Augusta. I'd be lucky to even break that if we're being completely honest there. Continuing on, we'll just go down the line in order of which we got these chronologically. From Mark B, Chicago style pizza or New York style pizza? You know the answer. I like New York style pizza. There's a little place when I've only been to New York a couple of times, and I've always stayed at the same hotels for a radio conference when I was in college and high school. I went once, and there's this little hole in the wall pizza place right next to the Hotel Pennsylvania. That's what it's called, across from Madison Square Garden. Pizza's incredible. John's on Bleecker Street, absolutely delicious for some authentic stuff. You know where I'm from. You know what I'm going with. That deep dish, delicious. But also the natives will tell you tavern style is the real Chicago style. I don't think deep dish is for tourists. I eat it. I'm from there, but I'm going Chicago style any day of the week. I like to have a little girth to it, little thickness to it. Other questions here as we go through these. Vance asks, the most badass mascot at any level of sports. Oh, badass. That's a good, oh man. My favorite is my hometown Benny the Bull. Big J's up there. I like my personal ones. I don't know, man. Phoenix is a gorilla. And, not to give any extra credit to Pitt State. If you put a gorilla out there, that's pretty badass. I'll go with the Phoenix Suns gorilla. That's a classic one. The Fighting Okra at Delta State also. That's an unofficial mascot, but I do enjoy that one. Also on here, digging through our YouTube comments today, yay or nay on dipping fries in a Frosty at Wendy's? I got to pass. Not for me. I love Frosties. The fries are fine. I actually like Wendy's fries better than a lot of fast food fries. I'll pass on it. I don't like sweet and salty. There's a little. My wife loves it. Sweet and salty, absolutely. Anything you can find sweet and salty, she loves that stuff. Me, no. Not my favorite taste pairing. I know I'm a bizarre person for that. Speaking of fast food, what is the go-to order at Brahms? Number 2, size it up, chocolate shake to drink. Take the mayonnaise off the burger. The Brahms sauce, yes. Mayonnaise, absolutely not. Size up the fries, size up the chocolate shake. Get it every single time, and it hits like crack every single time. Now I want Brahms. Get those built here in town, guys. Come on. We got to get that up here soon. And do we have any others before we get to a commercial break? I'm not sure if we have any others. This one's just relative to one of our last headlines. What is wrong with sports in the state of Michigan? I don't know. Michigan State has had problem after problem over the last couple of years. The situation at U of M is just an absolute boondoggle. You got to be smart about who you're putting on your staffs, man. And look, I get Jim Harbaugh's an all-time great coach. Clearly was more than willing to look the other way and be like, hey, look at my khakis. Hey, listen to this weird quote about J.J. McCarthy. Well, a whole lot of stuff was going on within that program. I'm not in the camp that says, oh, take away their championship or anything like that. But, man, not a great look for the University of Michigan over these last couple of years. That does it. We're out of time. We have to get to a commercial break before we wrap up this edition of the show. When we come back, we will get to today's final word, and then we'll pass you off to our 580 Preps High School Basketball Game of the Week doubleheader brought to you by Aero Exteriors. That's coming up right after this as we wrap up this edition on a Feel Good Friday of 580 Sports Talk. All right, we're wrapping up this edition of 580 Sports Talk with the final word. I promised our texter from the 785 that I would come up with an answer for his question about my all-time KU lineup. Also, I have to address this because it's hilarious. We have a text from the 785. I think maybe even the same texter said this before. Had you planned on lying before you became completely honest with us? I know I say that all the time. To be completely honest with you, no, I'm never planning to lie to you. It's just a verbal crutch. I know I say it. That's really funny. Very funny to call me out for that. I'm not kidding either. That is hilarious. No, I'm never planning to lie to you. You always get my trustworthiness. The people who come to the door and have literature for me, no, I might lie to them once in a while. All right, I did promise, though. We had a texter who said, what is my all-time Kansas basketball starting lineup? Because we are condensed for time, we've got high school hoops coming up. We had just a short segment that last time. I'm only going to give you players from my time, either as a student or covering the team. So the last 13 years, really, are we talking 14 years now? Whatever the math is, my brain is fried. It's Friday. You know how it goes. All right. So if I'm giving you 5, this is extremely difficult. I'm starting Frank Mason. I don't know how the pieces would fit, to be completely honest with you, but I'm just trying to put out there the guys who I liked the best and trying to maximize talent fit off the top of my head. You might say that team would suck together. Look, I got to ask the question, okay? All right, so Frank Mason's the point guard, obviously. Right there with Kirk Heinrich, my favorite KU players of all time. Darryn Peterson is the most talented player I've ever seen wear a KU uniform, and we haven't even seen the best of him. So he's going to be my 2, my combo. Frank can play with a second ball handler. I'm putting Doak at the 5. Embiid would be in the conversation, but senior year Doak, when he would take over, was just absolutely unbelievable. So I'll put senior year Doak at the 5. I'm putting Josh Jackson as my small 4. We forget, Dan and I had this conversation just the other day, that we sort of forget about Josh Jackson because he completely flamed out in the NBA. I mean, he was a nothing in the NBA, but God, he was so good. Unbelievable talent. You play him as a small 4. You can play 4 out around Udoka. I'm putting him at the 4. Man, they never played together, did they? No, they did. They would have played together. And that would have been Doak's freshman year when he got hurt. And then I am going to put at the 3 Ochai Agbaji. You get shooting. You get unbelievable athleticism from that group. I don't know if all the pieces would fit together perfectly, but that would be my group. Combination of my favorites, the best athletes, and some of the best talent that you've ever seen. Off the bench, by the way, my reserves, Devontae Graham, Jalen Wilson, and I got to have Landon Lucas as my big. I'm putting Melvin Counsell on that list, dude. I love Melvin Counsell. I would do anything to get that dude a second year at KU. It feels criminal that this KU team only gets him for 1 year. I'm glad for his success at the JUCO ranks and at St. Bonaventure, at Wagner. But, man, I wish KU could have gotten that dude for more year. I asked this to Michael the other day, Michael Swain. Like, can you remember a KU player that had the fans in the palm of his hand like him? I can think of Devontae Graham, and that's it. KU versus Arizona coming up this weekend. I'll take Arizona to win. I like KU to cover 8.5 points, though. My final word outside of that for today's show. See, and Andrew says no Christian Brown. I could have put Christian Brown on there. I loved CB. Absolutely. I tell people all the time, the game where the Sylvia De Sosa stool game, the fight with K-State, CB had 20 points as a true freshman in that game. It was unbelievable. I could give you so many names. I love Christian Brown. This is tough, man. Look, there have been a lot of good players. I've been very lucky. My alma mater's had some very good basketball teams over the last 14 years. But we have to move on or I could do this absolutely all night. My other final word, wanted to get to a note on this from the NFL. Just finishing up our thoughts on Free Agent Friday from earlier today and the running back room. I know it was so in vogue for a long time to talk about how running backs don't matter and you can get a good running back anywhere, et cetera, et cetera. I think the pendulum is swinging back the other way, and it's been swinging back the other way a bit now. You know, the 49ers made a huge trade for Christian McCaffrey. The Ravens went out and paid top dollar to get Derrick Henry. The Packers spent a ton of money to get Josh Jacobs, who's going into his 3rd year with the team. It's been swinging back this way that, hey, yeah, good talent is one thing, but a legitimately great back, a guy who really is a game changer with the ball in his hands, that is still really valuable. I don't think the Chiefs need to make a trade for a true superstar. If you can get Jeremiah Love in the draft and that's the best player available, well then sure, maybe that is the best way to go in the draft this year. But I think you can get a guy in free agency this offseason who is going to make a legitimate difference. Guys, just a starting caliber running back, which I don't think the Chiefs had this year. Pacheco, maybe he could have been that way if he continued to develop before injury. That's not how football works sometimes, and you move on from a player like that without much hesitation. Kareem Hunt, did his best, but that's not a starting caliber running back in today's NFL. Whether it's paying a little bit more for Kenneth Walker, maybe it's you try to go under the radar, you bring in Tyler Algier, who would be my favorite pick. Whether it's Travis Etienne, who I know has explicitly said he'd love to play for the Chiefs. You get a guy like that, you are raising the floor for your offense to a degree we have not seen for the Chiefs in way too long at this point. Find somebody, some sort of respectable back there, and you're going to be in a good position. And at the top of this free agency class, there's some good options that aren't going to break the bank for the Kansas City Chiefs. So please, Brett Veach, I'm begging you, go get one of them. That'll do it today for 580 Sports Talk. For Spencer, for Dan, I am Brendan. Thank you so much for joining us. Check out the YouTube, check out the podcast on Spotify. We'll be back on Monday with a full show, but right now we're going to take a quick break and we'll send it out to Vikings Gymnasium for the 580 Preps High School Basketball Game of the Week doubleheader, brought to you by Aero Exteriors, our last one of the regular season as Seaman takes on Shawnee Heights. Dan and the coach will have you next right here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW.